Hey, welcome back to the Black and Gold Standard Podcast. And today we're just going to talk about the report card, review the game from yesterday. Pittsburgh Steelers upset the Detroit Lions 29-24. It was a very exciting. I mean, the one thing I will say about the Steelers, if anything else, they play some exciting games. They play some games that are going to have your heart racing, um, have you almost wanting to pass out, definitely have you want to grab your favorite cocktail and down a few. But it was a very exciting game. Was it a great game? Probably wasn't a. I mean, it was a great game as far as the Steelers winning, but wasn't a well executed game all the time. Um, on both sides. The Detroit Lions. I don't know. I think this team just may be snake bitten because I feel like their Super Bowl window has been open at least the last 2 years. I'm gonna say last year and this year. Still, it ain't over yet, but the injuries just have really wrecked this team. And that was one of the comments that I was just saying yesterday. I mean, not to slight the Steelers win, because at the end of the day, every NFL team has to deal with injuries. Pittsburgh Steelers deal with injuries, but that Detroit team that we seen yesterday was very, very compromised as far as the injuries that they had, especially on defense and even on the offensive line. I mean, when your offensive line is banged up when they lost a center, it just went all bad for them. But like I say, hey, you can't sit there and it's me, because like I say, every NFL team deals with injuries. That's where it comes in with your GM, that he gives you the right amount of depth, and put some good players behind your starters. So if one of those guys go out, the fall off is not that dramatic. Um, and I would have to say, to a point, that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers have done. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, and this is the time, in a lot of people, I haven't really heard his name that much, but Omar Khan, he's really done his job. It don't look like it. I know we kind of get upset, and me personally, I get upset because I kind of thought that he let the receiver room just really didn't. I just say I don't think he did his best to get that receiver room back where it should where it should be. But you can't really complain about some of the pieces that he's brought in here, and which has helped the Steelers, because the Steelers have had a lot of injuries as well, but they've been able to bring in some good backup pieces. So when those starters went out, it just wasn't a total fall off. I mean, obviously the guy that you that's behind your starter, he's not as good as your starter, but some teams, when they lose a starter, that position falls off a cliff. And I kind of think that's what happened to Detroit. But also another thing I mean, they just have so many injuries. So when you got the second, third practice squad player, out there playing, that that makes a difference. I'm just gonna be honest. And like I say, I try to keep it real and not overlook things. But at the end of the day, a win is a win. I don't care how you get it, as long as you get it. And that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers did yesterday. So let's go right into the grading, and let's kind of see what I thought about the game, and some of the gradings that the guys did. And so let's get into it here. So again, this was week 16. The NFL season is almost over, folks. Um, and this was a win that this was a game that I didn't have the Pittsburgh Steelers winning. I want to say my prediction was 34-24, I think. But even when the schedules first came out, this was just a game that I didn't have the Steelers winning, but they came back and won it. And they won 29-24. It kind of crazy ending to the game, but the referees did get it right. And my thing is always, I don't complain about the refs. Yeah, do the refs make bad calls? Absolutely, they do. But I always felt like at the end of the day, you get some calls, that goes your way, and you get some calls that go against you. So I think at the end of the day, they pretty much even out. It's just when it's time, when it's your time, is your time, and it was the Steelers' time yesterday. But honestly, the refs, those last few calls in the game, the refs got them right. They got them right. The tripping from Highsmith, the pass interference against the Detroit Lions, which ended the game. So can't really complain about the refs too much. Like I say, it's just one of those things. You're gonna get calls, and calls are gonna go against you. So let's get right into it. The quarterback position. I felt like Aaron Rodgers played a very good game. He played a very good game. In control of the offense. He threw the deep ball. He threw across the middle. And like I say, I truly believe Aaron Rodgers calls a lot of these plays. Arthur Smith may send in the play, but I think Aaron Rodgers, he'll change it, and I think a lot of times he changes the play, or especially when he feel like it's not a good play. But this is why you bring a guy like him in. This is why excuse me. This is why you bring a guy like him in. And like I said, I thought he was very solid. So I gave Rodgers a B plus. I gave him a B plus. He was 27 of 41 for 266 yards, 6.9 percentage. That was and he had one touchdown. Just a very decent game. Nothing too crazy, nothing bad. He protect the ball, which is the number one thing that you want to get from your quarterback, is protect the ball. I don't even remember having a ball that was even in harm's way. So like I say, another solid game from your quarterback. He's a guy that's going to lead the offense. He's a guy that really, he's a 21-year vet. So, you're going to get those type plays. The only thing that I wish is, and maybe over time this will come, I just wish, the guys got to kind of get on his level. They got to kind of get on his level as far as when he sees, because he has his mind must be like a computer or something, but he has that candy knack of always catching teams with 12 guys on the field. But the Steelers, those guys got to be ready. They got to go, and I think this is part of what the Steelers probably do in practice. This is part why he really want those veteran receivers out there instead of some of these young guys, because they just don't understand it. He really tried to save the Steelers with the Darnell Washington fumble, but you got guys coming in and out. So I think on that thing, that's just something that with the players, the coaches, that they just got to get on Aaron Rodgers' wavelength, I guess you could say. So with that said, I gave him a B plus, solid game. No issues that I really have with him on that. And let's get to the running backs. The running backs. Hey, again, like I say, you have to do what you have to do. And I feel like these running backs, that's what they did. Detroit Lions secondary linebacker. I mean, that defense was terrible. They even pointed out where I don't know the safety they had in there. He was like I don't know if he was a practice squad player, but they showed so many times where, especially in the run game, where he was just out of position, and he was definitely out of position, like both times on Warren's long runs. But again, like I say, hey, you got to take advantage of that stuff, and that's what the Steelers did. And Jaron Warren, I mean, he finally had uh, outbreak game, you could say. Gainwell is Aaron Rodgers' safety. You know that's his safety blanket that he's always gonna look for him. He always gonna know where he's at. He has confidence in him. He's gonna catch the ball. That was an amazing catch. That might even be the catch of the year. That catch that he made, and that's the type catch that you're gonna get from one of your 30-40 million wide receivers, and you got that from a running back. A free agent running back that really nobody wanted. So that was a great thing, and I think Aaron Rodgers has all the confidence in the world in Kenny Gainwell, and he will throw the ball to him anywhere, anytime, and it's just a great thing. So the running backs, I gave the running backs an A+. I gave those guys an A+. I mean, Jaron Warren, he had 14 attempts, 148 yards, a 10.2 average, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 8 more yards. I think Gainwell had like 50-something yards rushing, and he had like an 8-yard per carry average. And then I know he caught like 7 balls for another 80 yards. So the running backs is nothing else that you could have asked from these guys. They finally, and the crazy thing about it, we still didn't get a lot of attempts. I mean, Warren only rushed the ball 14 times. I know for a fact Gainwell's probably a little under that. He probably ran the ball about 8 times or so. So they still not getting a ton of reps. But for this game here, they made some breakout runs, and I gave those guys an A+. The receivers, again, just wasn't really asked a lot of them. I thought DK, and that's a whole nother situation. His mind was somewhere in the situation that he got himself into, which I'll kind of talk about that maybe by the end of this. But that's just that. Like I said, I'll talk about that situation. Alan Thielen, made some big catches. I think Calvin Austin got a catch before he got injured. The MVS, I think MVS maybe had a catch. I think everybody got at least one catch. So Scotty Miller came in for Calvin Austin. When Austin went down, he came in with 2 huge catches. So, and I want to say one of those catches might have been a 4th down catch. So, I thought the Steelers receivers played well, and I gave those guys a B, a solid B. And as you can see, Thielen led the way with 4 catches for 49 yards, a 12.3 average. And like I say, we're doing just enough. We're getting just enough to really get DK opened up, and got some guys that's a threat now. I mean, we still don't have. I mean, just think about it. Think about it if they Steelers went out and really got a number 2 receiver. I mean, Aaron Rodgers would probably be putting up some bigger numbers, and this team would be scoring more points, because even with this game, and as bad as Detroit played, they were still in the game at the end. And I mean, you gotta, come playoff time, the Steelers going to play some teams that can score, especially if you get in a situation and have to meet the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be a game that you're going to have to score a lot of points. Because like I say, I think in the playoffs, everybody level bumps up, and a guy like Josh Allen, he's going to be able to get points, and you're going to have to score quite a few to beat a team like that. So let's go to the tight ends. Again, the tight ends really wasn't asked to do a lot, but again, everybody kind of did their thing. I gave the tight ends a solid B. Darnell Washington led the way with 3 receptions for 36 yards, 12 touchdowns. But come on, big guy. Come on, big guy. And I know it was like 3 or 4 dudes trying to tackle you, but come on. You the biggest guy on the field. You cannot fumble that ball. You got to hold on to that thing for dear life. And Detroit was able to get that ball out of them because, that was a huge fumble. That could have almost cost the game. The Steelers were going in to score. So, you learn, just another learning situation. Fortunately for the Steelers, it didn't cost them the game. But come on, Darnell. You better than that. You got to hold on to that football, man. You got to hold on to that football. Offensive line. Wow. Oh man, I cannot believe it because I've been very hard on these guys. I've been very hard on Pat Myers, and first of all, I will say this. Me personally, I don't really think Pat Myers is the answer, and there's a lot to do with his scheme. But with that said, I have to give him credit. He's had these younger guys ready to play. They're giving them, they're doing their thing. They're doing their thing. And like I said, yes, can I get excited that the Steelers running game finally woke up? Yes, I can. And again, they did what they supposed to do because that was a beat up defense. So when the defense is like that, hey, you do what you're supposed to do and you beat them up. And that's what the Steelers did. But I think the game that I'm kind of looking for them and a game that would really make me feel like, okay, this offense has really turned the corner, which they have gotten better. I will admit to that. They have gotten better. But for me to really get excited to be like, man, like this offensive line is really, really taking control of the game, probably won't see that until the playoffs. Probably won't really see that until we play a good team, a good solid team, got everything. Just like Houston, say if you play the Houston Texans, that's a great defense. Now the offense can hold up against a team like that and get that running game going and sometimes not even with the extra tight end or the extra offensive lineman, just 5-on-5, and those guys are mashing the ball down somebody's throat. That's what I'm gonna really get excited. Like these guys are really doing their thing. They really ain't got better, but no. Well, I want you to say got better because they have got better. That I will admit to. But the offensive line, this is a grade that I would never ever had thought that I would see or be saying this. But I gave the offensive line A. I thought for what they were asked for, the pass protection, yeah, they gave up 2 early sacks, but after that, they kind of got it together. And as you see, Rodgers threw the ball 41 times. So, it was opportunities out there for the Lions to kind of get with these guys. But I thought the offensive line did their thing. And with that said, I gave the offensive line an A, and I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. But they deserve it. And, I'm gonna give them what they deserve. So the offensive overall grade for this game, I gave the guys a B plus. I thought they came out, had a good plan, had a good offensive plan, and again they did what they had to do, and I had no issues with it. And like with me, I'm kind of stingy with the A's. I mean, I just it's easy to give when the team wins, give everybody an A. But when I look at getting an A, that means you were basically perfect. A is almost being perfect, and they wasn't like that, but they played good. They played good. I mean, they played a little bit above good, so I gave them a B plus. So with that said, let's move over to the defensive side, the edges. Another game without T.J. Watt, and actually this game was without Watt and Herbert. And I thought for the most part the edges played solid. I thought Highsmith played a good game. He had the crazy penalty at the end. I mean, the tripping. I guess, hey, if you ain't trying, if you ain't trying, and what is that saying? If you're cheating, you ain't trying or whatever. But anyway, um, I thought the tripping situation was kind of crazy. Probably shouldn't. Well, he definitely shouldn't have did that. But hey, you got to do what you got to do to get a guy down. But for the most part, I thought Highsmith played a good game, and he led the way with 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. I gave the edges a B for that. I thought Sawyer was stepped in and started, played a good game. He didn't hurt the Steelers out there, and he made some plays. And those guys were part. They were part stopping Detroit's run game. I mean, think about it. Detroit ran for 15 yards. 15 yards. That's crazy. That's easily a run that Gibbs is going to break every time. He's going to at least break a 15-yard run here or there. But they totally shut him down. So defensive tackles. Cam Hayward is playing out of his mind the last couple of weeks. He is playing like a all-pro defensive tackle. Can't nobody like he's just on another level right now. And it's starting to be shown. He's making big plays in the run game. He's getting to the quarterback, which, I mean, to be honest, defensive tackles are really not, you don't really expect those guys to get to the quarterback that much because that ain't really their deal. They're there to stop the run and take up blocks, but he's getting to the quarterback. He is playing lights out right now. I just hope that he can last. He can keep it going. He's going to definitely be one of those guys. And I'll get into that about the Browns game. But the defensive line, I gave those guys a B. Hayward led the way, four tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Well, I know a lot of people will say, well, hey, they gave up 15 yards rushing. And that was true. That was true. But again, I just like to, until I get that perfect game, it's gonna be hard to get a A out of me. Now, and the running backs in the offensive line actually got 1 out of me. But I thought the defensive line was very solid. Bennett had a sack early on, and he's actually putting together a nice year. Harmon just really didn't show up in the stats so much, but he was a wrecker out there as far as taking up blocks and just clogging things up. And those running backs for Detroit had nowhere to go. So I gave those guys a B. The inside linebackers. I thought Patrick Queen was solid. And again, even like what I said with Hayward, Patrick Queen has upped his play, and he's playing very well. And he's another guy that really gets Steeler Nation a little fired up because it's times that he's just not doing the things that you think he should be doing for the type money that they're paying him. But as you notice, his play goes along with the defensive line. When the defensive line is getting blown back and Bennett is sitting in their lap and Harmon is sitting in their lap, them guys can't make plays. But when those defensive tackles in front of them guys are taking up blocks, getting penetration, then that's when Queen and Wilson can do their thing and use their speed, run down players and be all over the field. So with that said, I gave the inside linebacker, I gave him a B minus. Patrick Queen led the way with 7 tackles. And again, the defense was solid. They had a good game plan. Now the only reason that I kind of gave the inside linebackers a B minus is because, Detroit, they're starting tight ends are out. Porter and all those guys are out. And it's crazy. I don't even know I don't even know the kid's name, but it was one tight end out there that he was kind of eating them guys up. So I had an issue with that. All right, Boxing Man, I see you. The Lions' offensive line was terrible. Yes, it was. It was 100% terrible because they got a lot of injuries. And but the one thing I will say is when you get in that situation, you got to take advantage of it. And I thought the Steelers took advantage of it, but I agree. I'm not, everybody want to call me a hater and all this stuff, but I'm not going to get over excited because I know what the Steelers were dealing with. They were basically dealing with a hurt team, but again, there's no fault of the Steelers. I don't expect them to apologize for anything because the Steelers, they were out. They were 2 linemen down. But like I say, this is where your front office comes into play, and the Steelers, lucky for them, with their offensive line play, they had some guys to step in that just eased that drop off where Detroit, they don't really have that. And like I say, again, when you get down to your third guy, you're going to have issues. And when your center is out and, he makes all the calls, he makes all the blocking calls, and, it's just a bad thing when you're losing your center. So I will get that to them. But the Lions were basically probably put out their misery, I guess you could say. But not the Steelers' fault, and Steelers don't surprise. They don't have to apologize for that. The corners, for the most part, they did their job. I mean, they shut Detroit passing game down. Now at the end of the game, it got a little dicey. I will admit it got dicey at the end because at the end, when Detroit really was just going straight with the pass, and it got dicey because St. Brown kind of started waking up. Williams started waking up a little bit. So with that said, I still gave those guys a B. Porter, I guess he's the type guy. He's not gonna get a lot of interceptions, in which with a corner, if you feel like if you have a great one, you look for those interceptions. You're not really gonna get that with Porter. What you're gonna get is just good coverage, and for the most part, he did okay. He led the way with 6 tackles and 2 pass defense, but it did. I will admit it got dicey. It got dicey, and the safeties. I thought Duggar was hot and cold. He got the sack. He got the safety, and then he got the pass interference call that he really didn't have to commit. Ramsey, kind of quiet night for Ramsey, honestly. But he did his thing, and I guess you could kind of put these guys in that position as far as checking that tight end, because that guy was making plays, and it was one touchdown that he had in his hands, and he just dropped it. So with that said, Kyle Duggar led the way, 7 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and I should have put on there he had a safety. So huge game for him. Huge game for him. And again, you can look at your front office. That was a great pickup. That was a great pickup for them. Yeah, you're right, boxing man. It was a hurt animal out there, and the Steelers just put the animal out of his misery, I guess you could say. But you just they did what they had to do, and like I say, when it comes to injuries, you won't get no apologies from me, because it's just part of the game, and all teams deal with it, and that's just what you had to do. So overall, the defense, overall grade for the defense, I gave the defense a B. I thought again they played good, they were solid. Really had a good game plan, especially once they kind of felt like Detroit can't run the ball against us, and we can control his offensive line. They really kicked it into high gear, and really for the most part made them one-dimensional. Goff still threw for over 300 some yards, but he had to, because that was the only thing that they could really do. The special teams, not bad. I mean, Boz, come on, Boz, you too good, man. You're inside a controlled atmosphere. You can't miss a 23-yard or whatever that field goal was. That come on, Boz, you make those in your sleep. So I gave those guys a B-. I mean, Boz went 2 for 3 field goals. He hit a long of 59. 66.7%, 3 for 3 extra points. Wakeman had 3 punts for 150 yards, a 50.0 average. Again, I gave them credit for, Miller coming in there, because he hadn't returned punts all year, just to, come in there and catch, I think it was 2 punts he did, catch the ball. And that, I mean, everybody say, well, hey, that's what he should do. But when you haven't done that for a while, and on a stage like that, and you let it, you did it like second nature. That's huge, because how many games have you seen where a backup guy come in there and that's a disaster, and he end up dropping that ball, fumbling it, and that changes the game. And I thought he did pretty good. Boxing Man said that game was fake yesterday. I'm really not gonna say it was fake, Boxing Man, but like I say, you have to just keep it in perspective. You can't get, and I think that's what happens to a lot of Steeler fans. You get a little bit too high with things. You gotta just grade it for what it was, and what it was is, yes, the Detroit Lions were banged up, and that probably wasn't the best showing from the Lions. But again, like I say, every NFL team deals with injuries. The Steelers are dealing with injuries right now, but you gotta fight over that, and you gotta find a way. And the Steelers, fortunately, they found a way to get the W. So I won't really call it fake. I just call it, what it is. It was a good, tough victory, but also you got to keep it real, and also keep in the back of your mind that this team haven't arrived yet. They're going in the right direction, but to say they arrived, and to say that they just gonna run through the playoffs and all that crap. Shouldn't be saying that yet. The offensive coordinators, Arthur Smith, I thought for the most part called a good game. He as we could say, when he's kind of digging in his bag, he had a solid game. So I gave Arthur Smith a B. Steelers had 23 first downs, 70 plays, 481 total yards, 6.9 average. They had 251 yards passing for a 5.9 average, 230 yards rushing. That's huge. For 8.5 average. They gave up 2 sacks, and time of possession, they held the ball for over 34 minutes. And remember, the third quarter, the Giants only ran 3 plays for the whole quarter. Pittsburgh had the whole quarter to themselves. I mean, that type stuff you don't see. Defensive coordinator, I thought Terrell Austin, Mike Tomlin, because they're really, to me, they're defensive coordinators. The defense, I gave the defense a B+. Again, they gave up 23 first downs. Detroit ran 69 plays, 361 total yards for 5.2 average, 346 yards passing, and they averaged like 6.1 yards a pass, 15 yards rushing. That's not a typo. That's what the Detroit Lions ran for, 15 yards, 1.3 yards per carry, and the Steelers got 3 sacks. So I can't not give those guys credit. They did what they had to do. They had a good game plan, and it turned out good for them. And let's go to Mike Tomlin, 9-6, in first place in the AFC North, 4th seed in the playoffs right now. Got a chance to really lock this thing up. Actually, the Steelers will know before they even hit the field on Sunday what's their deal. It could be over. It could be over before kickoff. And that's going to be one of the things that I'll get into later on in the week, that, just how you want to handle this as far as sitting players and all that type stuff. To be honest, I really wouldn't sit a lot of guys against the Browns. I still want those guys to play. I still want those guys to get out there and play, get some get those guys some more reps. But like I said, we'll talk about that and deal with that when it's time. So coaching overall, I gave the coaches a B+. I thought they did a great job and made the right adjustments. And that's it. So with that said, make sure you like and subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow, and we had the ops for the Cleveland Browns. We'll just kind of go over their top 6 players that I think the Steelers definitely need to keep an eye on. And those will be the guys that, the Steelers got to control to get this victory. I mean, this should be a game that they should be able to win. It's a very winnable game. And maybe we can keep Myles Garrett quiet and don't let him set the record against the Steelers. I know that's something that he probably going to love to do. So with that said, you guys take care. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Until then, just hang in there. Another win. Like I said, the stack wins, and that's what the Steelers have been doing so far. Can't complain about that. So with that said, take care. I'm out. Bye-bye.